As I said before, my name is Sarah, and I'm this year's Finance Board Chair. Okay, so basically, before I begin the actual presentation, I want to know what you guys already know about the Finance Board. It could be from how the meetings are run, like who's in the meetings, the dates, times. I saw your hand up first, so do you want to share?
I know absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Well, see, that's an answer. If you know nothing, it's good to be honest. Does anyone know have a little engagement? Yeah?
We sit in a table like this.
In this room.
And this is the actual room that Finance Board meetings are held in, yeah. Anyone else?
Tuesday nights.
Yes, Tuesday nights from 5:30 to whenever the meeting ends. It can be pretty late, but yes. So that's cool. Okay, so the 4 W's, the who, what, when, where. The who, so the Finance Board is comprised of 7 members. You have the chair, the vice chair, treasurer, BPSO, Hannah, and then we have 3 other members, and also we also have an advisor, Craig, our SG advisor, and Sarah right here. They alternate every week. Our purpose as the Finance Board is to allocate student activities fees. And by the way, if I'm going too fast, just tell me to slow down. We allocate student activities fees to fund submitted allocation requests that student organizations submit to the treasurer. So basically, every undergraduate student pays a student activities fee, and that's where the pot of money that the Finance Board is able to use goes to. So this year we were allocated $230,000 to use throughout the year. Yeah, you guys may think that's a lot of money, but when it comes down to it, receiving a lot of allocation requests, we see so many great events that enhance campus life, but we gotta think of the pros and the cons, like basically trying to maximize our dollar, to really try to reach out to as many students as possible. And when do we meet? We meet every Tuesday at 5:30 sharp. And 5:30 to 6, we have our prep meetings as a board, and then 6 o'clock is when student organizations actually come in to present their allocation requests. And where? Commons 318, the very room that you guys are sitting in right now, is where we meet. Cool. So this is actually my personal vision statement. It's to efficiently utilize the student dollar by enhancing campus life. But that's the vision statement that I feel like everyone on the board this year is kind of relating to, like I said, maximizing the student dollar, trying to reach out to as many students as possible, making sure that all the events are as open as they can be to really reach out to the networks and everything. Yeah. So before student organizations are able to come to a Finance Board meeting, there are certain requirements that they have to check off. The first one is to complete treasurer training with Haneen.
I actually held the first 3 treasurer training sessions earlier in September. There is one more session that's going to be held this Wednesday at 3 o'clock in 331, which is down the hall that way. So if you guys can make it out. If you haven't, you actually can't meet with the Finance Board unless you've attended treasurer training. So if your organization has not done so, I would like to request money, then please attend this last treasurer training session.
Sorry, this is a quick question. So
Sure.
if someone else on the board has gone to these treasurer training meetings, does that make someone else that hasn't gone eligible, but still from the same organization?
If they have attended this semester already, and you want to attend it again,
Yeah.
just to watch, yeah, you're completely fine. Only the treasurer must be in attendance, but any other executive member is more than welcome to join them. But the treasurer has to come.
Sometimes the treasurer fills out the request, but let's say they have a class conflict and they can't go, they'll send a president or pretty much anyone else who's able to meet that time slot. But because sometimes that person didn't go to the training, it might be harder for them to present. So although they're not required, it would be in their benefit to at least attend one.
Yeah.
But I guess a quick question for Haneen is what if they can't go to this coming one? What happens after that?
Then you would have to meet with me individually, but I really, it's going to be hard with the time conflicts and whatnot. I really would suggest that if your treasurer can't attend, then just let me know, we can work a way around that. I just need I would recommend that everyone try to come.
The second requirement that we have is to comply to all the requirements written on the allocation request form. They're available in the SGA office on the door, or in one of the little drop-off boxes by the door. And there's a bunch of, it's in really small black ink, but it's really, really important for you guys to read all that, because Haneen then receives the allocation requests, which are due the deadline changed this year. It's Wednesday now, and then Friday is like the final deadline, but please submit them by Wednesday. And Hanine and her financial support team goes through and makes sure that they do meet all the requirements, and then it's submitted, and then the finance board sees them. So that's how it works. And then lastly, you'll receive a confirmation email, usually by Hanine or her team, with the date and the time of your meeting. And that's to give you confirmation like, hey, like the finance board is going to see you, you're on the schedule for this certain time. Okay, so each year the finance board is comprised of a whole different board, 7 new faces. So a lot of the student organizations come in and have this tendency to think that the finance board is going to be run the exact same way every year, but that's not the case. With new people come different opinions, different viewpoints and all that. So what we try to do is we really take it seriously to treat every student organization the same, whether it be UMBC Crew, to Persian Student Association, to UMBC, you know, just to have that fairness. So we have what we call precedents, is where we set to make sure that we do treat everyone all fairly. And the ones that we set this year so far, but they're still changing and we're still setting them, is we do not look favorably upon funding buttons as a source of advertisement, which Common Vision supplies, and giveaways. Because think about it like this, if every student pays their own money out of their tuition, and then technically if you get a giveaway, that's like saying that you're paying a student's purchases, which is like, my tuition is going to, you know, for example, for food too. Which brings us to the second point. Number of food serving sizes should equal the number of expected attendees. This is something that we usually see with cultural, student organizations. Like, we use the term cultural broadly, but in the sense of like, I don't know why I keep using it. It's like Korean Student Association, Persian Student Association, salsa, those sorts of things, you know. We understand, like, we all like to eat, we all love food, you know, but we're really trying to see, like, where is the best use of our money going towards. And the board doesn't necessarily feel like food is the best way to, you know, really enhance campus life, but we also understand it's an integral part of your event, and we really want to, like, create a happy medium between the student org and ourselves. Another one, I think this is pretty new. I don't really remember us saying this last year, but one off-campus event per semester, or 2 a year for student organizations that need to do so in order to function. For example, like Law United Nations. Hanine is the president of that student org, and they plan for many hours at a time to be ready for conferences that are held off campus that include hotel costs, conference costs, travels. So with that being said, you know, you do all this planning, but if you're not able to be funded, you know, it's like, not like what's the use in a way, but we also understand that college is expensive, so we try to like subsidize for that as well. But even though you comply to all this, doesn't necessarily mean that your event's going to be funded, if that makes sense. But it's just something to think about. And also, you must have storage space on campus for funded materials. For example, we had crew come in because they needed an extension cord, and because they do like worship sets during their general body meetings, which we totally understand, but we wanted to make sure that the extension cord wasn't going to be stored in like someone's residence hall room or someone's, you know, home. Like, we wanted to make sure that it was on campus. So for example, if you have like a cabinet, a student or a cabinet, like, we'd be fine with that, or if it's like held with your advisor, something like that. Just somewhere so it's like we know that's safe, but we also know it's not just for personal use as well. And it won't be misplaced in easily, and Hannah can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so just to give some background on that, like, I know I've had this problem in the past with my personal organizations where we get something and we decide, you know, this is what the organization is going to do, or like this is what they're going to use. But then as, like, say someone who's a senior is holding on to it, you know, and they're going to get it back, whatever, maybe when they held on to it as a junior, it was fine. But then the next year, they graduate, they transfer schools, something happens, they take it home, they lose it, and then so in this case, if Finance Board is funding for you to have something as an organization, we want that, like whatever it is, to be used year after year after year. So we don't have to, like, you know, so you don't have to keep coming back to us, or you don't have to keep finding a new one. So just to make sure that, like, you don't take it back and you lose it personally, like in your dorm, accidentally take it home, and then, you know, parents take it, whatever happens, something like that. But if it's on campus or with an advisor, it's somewhere that you can use it every year. So we know that that's kind of where that money went.
So every meeting, let's say that you're scheduled to come in at 6:20 with your student organization. So you'll have one representative or few representatives from your student organization come in, and we might be meeting with another student organization, but there's going to be a sign on the doors that says, hey, like finance board meeting is in progress, but please feel free to come in quietly and sit down, and then we'll be with you shortly after we're finished meeting with the student organization. And as a chair, my role in the finance board is to more so facilitate conversation amongst the student organizations and the finance board members. So first we'll start with a round of introductions, introducing ourselves, like what we do on campus. And then I'll open up to the student organization to kind of explain their event or the purpose of their allocation request, whether they want a conference funded or an item that they need, that sort of thing. And then I'll open up the time for questions. And this is when this finance board members ask questions pertaining to an event. It could be questions like, can you give us a walkthrough of your event? Sorry, I use the word event a lot because that's basically most of the allocation requests that come in. Or like the purpose of the item for your student organizations. How many members are in your student org? So this is another reason why I'm saying it's really important, not mandatory, but it is good to have an actual e-board member to be present at the meetings because they're the ones who actually really know this information. Do you guys think of any other questions that we ask a lot during the same meetings? No?
How is your event or initiative going to benefit the student body?
Yeah, that's something that Finance Board takes very seriously. Like, how is it going to enhance campus life? How are students here going to benefit from this event happening?
How successful your event was in the past.
Yes, that is definitely something that we take into consideration. And after we ask questions, we move into a time discussion. Discussion is when the Finance Board members talk amongst themselves to see like what they really like about the event and what they think about it, whether like thought processes, and this time is also closed off to finance board members only. So it's really important for student organizations to get out there, like why they feel like their event or item or their allocation request should be funded, all the information that they think that the members of the finance board needs to know in order to have them decide like, whether or not they want it to be allocated or not. During this time also discussion, we can see like if there are certain line items, like on the allocation request form, we have line items that are numbered off, like let's say one could be decorations, another one could be food, another could be a marketing package. And then the finance board will say like, oh, I don't really see this, how do I word this? So not being really crucial to the event, and then we'll also ask the student is it okay to come to a compromise. And after that, we have a vote of the allocation request. So there are 3 turnouts. It either can be funded, partially funded, funded, not funded at all, or tabled. And usually in the cases of being tabled, that's when the finance board feels we need more information. Like let's say if we have a DJ contract and, oh, that's another question, I'm really sorry. So with contracts and stuff, the finance board really wants to see a confirmation from your contract person saying like, hey, I'm confirmed for this date for this event, like things, and I guess a quote of how much that they're asking for. And also, with like say decorations and food, we like to see a breakdown, which is basically the caterer or whatever website like Party City that you're getting your materials from, and with like a picture of it and how much it costs. Am I making sense? I don't know. I'm just like used to how the way the finance board's been working, but if you guys need any clarification, feel free to raise your hands. But yeah, that's how the meetings are usually run. And Haneen is in charge of the schedules, but meeting times for student organizations run on average 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And next, please. Oh yeah, so after we do the vote, you'll receive a contact person, which is going to be one of the members on the finance board that sends you an email saying like what happened with your allocation request, what the board thought of it, and where to go on from there, like filling out RESGAPs and all that stuff, and having a successful event. We really try to make sure that we explain our reasoning behind like, why like your event was fun and why it wasn't, just to make sure that the student body is knowing that like, oh, like finance board hates food, like that's not the case at all, but it's a case-by-case basis when it comes to that.